You're live.
Okay, we are live.
Oh, all right. So tonight is January 12th, 2022, 6:30 p.m. This is the City of Goodhue City Council meeting. Y'all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We do have at least one amendment here to the agenda.
I have a second one too.
And you have another? Okay. The first one would be the farmer's market manager, Linda, and how do you say your last name? Height. Okay, and maybe we could put her toward the top of the agenda so she doesn't have to stay for all of this somewhere. Where would we get that? Maybe new business, right under, like make it 7.5?
I think that makes sense, Wayne.
Yeah.
Okay. So all in favor of, well, and then we have another item for an amendment.
Yeah, another, and I'd like to amend item number 18 to, with regard to resignation of the full manager. I would also like to amend that to accept the resignation of 2 additional city employees.
We have a motion for those amendments.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? Motion passes. Approved minutes from the December 8th, 2021 budget hearing. Need a motion for that? We have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes for the December 8th, 2021 budget hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Approved minutes from the December 8th, 2021 council meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from the December 8th council meeting.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Approved minutes. We got a bunch of these. Approved minutes for the, and I want to apologize. I was not aware our regular mayor was not going to be here, so I'm a little unprepared. But I'll just go along the best I can, and tell me if I'm missing or doing something.
I'll help you there, Wayne. Spirited
All right,
questions.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Approved minutes for the December 8th, 2021 EDA meeting.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay, in looking at it, and this is something I just didn't remember, whatever, it says EDA minutes of October 27th, 21, is that correct? Should it be November? Or didn't we have one in November?
That might be a typo. It should have been December.
Okay.
So we'll get those corrections.
But
Oh,
not December 27th.
Oh, no, we motioned in second to approve it from that meeting at this meeting. We motioned at that meeting to, on December 8th, we approved the October 27th meeting. So that's right.
So we didn't have a meeting in that second meeting after that,
Right.
so that's why it took so long to approve it.
Yeah, that's
Right. Right. Did we get motions for that then, the EDA, or,
All motion.
and a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the December 8th, 2021 EDA meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Old business.
Nothing that won't be covered for me on it later on, so.
Okay. Moving on to new business. Engineer updates.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Steve. So a few updates today, and I know there's a lot of information regarding a few of the street improvements, so I will start through in Swanson Heights third edition. That is that invoice that Jill provided in the packets. So we will not be paying that just yet, so this is all part of the previous project, so we just have not closed out that project or paid them their final retainage, because they still have a couple items to, fix up.
Reese, would you just explain for the new council members how that works, why these people are apparently asking the clerk to pay about $30,000, and the city of Goodhue always pays its bill? Why don't you just explain them how the process is so everybody understands that?
Sure thing. So basically what happens when we're going through construction contracts is there is, the contractor will typically submit their invoices to us, and then what we do is we prepare an actual pay application. So that'll be the contractor's application for payment. So that will include all the line items that matches the contract and exactly what we bid. And so when we get that, we check for the amount of that, and frankly, the number I think that they provided was what will be coming later. But what we need to do in order to pay the final payment is they have to submit some documentation that says, okay, we've got our bonds in place, we've paid all of our subcontractors, and just making sure that all their suppliers are taken care of, and it's basically just some paperwork that needs to get filled out. So there is one or two couple of items that just need to get hammered out on warranty pieces. So as soon as that's knocked out, then we can go ahead and final the project out.
Are there any questions for Reese on this? You know what, I called you too early. We amended the agenda to have Linda next. So if you could just wait for the rest of the report, Reese.
Sure, absolutely.
Did you all get to see
I will.
the
What was it?
information we got from Linda as far as becoming our farmer's market manager? Do we want to make a motion tonight on hiring her? Mitch, we got this from Mitch, who couldn't attend tonight, I guess. But any questions for Linda or discussion?
Can I ask, this might be really a silly question, but do we do background checks and that kind of thing? Or,
Well,
or on anybody? I'm just saying.
Well, we should on everybody.
I got one.
We did when the most recent hire, if I can answer the question, the most recent hire that we did do background checks on the clerk, and it was very fruitful that we did it. It was because it just was, okay? We typically haven't on a position such as this, but I think, but it's up to you. I think maybe you probably should. And have you decided how many hours she's gonna work and what she's gonna do, what you're gonna pay her? Has that been discussed yet or not?
We haven't even had a meeting on this yet.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I think,
maybe the
I
committee,
think
go ahead, I'm
if you
sorry.
had any questions for us, Linda, that would be wonderful, and then we could table this until our next meeting and we could discuss it.
Okay, no, Mitch pretty well explained everything
Okay.
to me, up to this point, so,
Okay.
I really didn't have any questions.
And I know he's gonna be here next meeting.
Okay,
He said he was gonna be here,
okay,
so.
That work for you?
that'll work.
Okay.
I got a suggestion, maybe the two on the employee committee, you could maybe get together and give some suggestions about what, I mean, you gotta have, if she's gonna be part-time, or what the pay is gonna be, and all that kind of stuff. I don't know that we have a job description, so to speak, for this position, unless Selena had one. I'm not sure she did or not.
I think we had, from I remember, we did have a number of hours set and pay and that, but we were pretty flexible, but it would be good, I think, too. Right, to go ahead and, yeah, go over that and probably set a meeting.
I did want to make one point, I know Selena wasn't a vendor, and I did bring this up to Mitch, but I also was a vendor at the farmer's market, so I don't know if that would affect any kind of compensation. I know it does at the Cannon Falls if you're both a vendor and the market, and the market manager.
Oh,
That's just something to throw out for your consideration.
okay.
And we could probably discuss that at a later time too.
So we're gonna probably wanna meet before that next meeting then?
Just to look at this.
So we'll try to set that up after tonight. Yeah.
Of course, in the employee matters, that group might change the two people.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
All right.
Perfect.
All right, Reese. Sorry.
No, no, it's fine.
Thank you for coming, Linda.
Jump in
Yeah,
there.
appreciate it.
So that pretty well covers Swanson Heights, third edition. So then as we move forward, the Battle of Waterloo Loop, still just similar situation, we need a little bit of closeout paperwork from them. Then fixing up a couple little items before that when it gets final out. North Central Sanitary District, so there hasn't been a ton of movement, and frankly, there won't be a lot of movement on that, until the legislature gets back in session. So we'll probably won't hear a ton on the funding aspect, so I'd probably say till spring. So, we'll still be, obviously continuing to push through different avenues as we can, but there's not gonna be a ton of, work coming on that, but I'm still working on some, potential funding options, so depending on what those come in, then we have a good template to say, okay, hey, does this even make sense? Do we wanna continue down this road? So, that goes with that, and then kind of the big one that we've got today, and I know this was, requested at the last council meeting, so, with this, I've got a preliminary engineering report.
Can I just add something into the council? Jerry from Edge is here tonight. And I think he was trying to raise his hand earlier, the last time Reese was up.
Sorry.
So, and this would be in regards to this invoice, and
Yeah, so, my name's Jerry Graham, I'm with Edge Contracting, we worked on the Swanson Heights project, and, we completed the asphalt in May, I believe it was, and we did some punch list items in June, and since then, we haven't received any pay estimates at all, so we haven't been paid for the asphalt at this point, or the retainers that he spoke of. There has been some times where our office has emailed your office, I don't know about you directly, but your office at least to get the final paperwork and the retainers and everything like that going so that we can close this out, because we're all in the same boat when it closes together. And you're right, Goodhue does pay its bills, they always have, but there's been this kind of miscommunication, let's just call it, between here and there as far as getting to that point. So, in the meantime, I called one of your employees that I guess is no longer here and said that maybe this was the best case to go to get it in front of the council's attention. But we just want to close this project out as well too. I thought a couple of the punch list items that you brought up today to our office were actually taken care of, and I called you around 2 this afternoon and didn't hear back.
Yep, just a second, I didn't.
Yep, so we just need to obviously get that taken care of, but, like I said, our issues, we just want to close it up for everybody, so.
Nope, and I'm happy to do so, like I said, we can chat tomorrow.
Yep. But, because I just wanted to make it clear to the office, we weren't just sending a bill just to say, hey, pay us just because it was literally going on 8 months right now, not hearing anything, it made it clear at all, so.
We have,
The suggestion, I would ask that then, if the engineer and you guys can come together next week, I would think you can just pay the bill without having to come back to the council, as long as the engineer says that's what we owe, that's what we do, so nobody has to wait. Would that be okay?
I would love that if the council agreed to that, yeah.
But the engineer has to okay it.
It would be a different amount than that number, because we wouldn't be able to pay retainage until, I'm happy to pay asphalt, I'm happy to pay, everything but retainage. But we cannot pay retainage until we have the closeout paperwork, i.e. warranty bonds,
Correct,
IC 134.
and our office, I know, contacted you today, the only way we can pay that, the only way we can get that information to you is if we have our final pay estimate from you.
The IC 134s are not in that piece, the surety bond and the consent of final payment is, so that would go.
All right, us three will work it out and take care of it, okay? The other way, okay, we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, does this need to come back to us, the next meeting then, as far as this payment in 2 weeks?
It'll just be
No.
coming from me, and it'll be a pay application, and it'll be.
We'll take care of it, okay?
I appreciate your time.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
You're welcome to leave, or if you want to stay.
thank
No,
you.
I think we got enough to work on, so we'll talk about it.
Thanks for bringing that up, Jill. I didn't see that he was trying to make the comment, so, yeah.
Okay, so moving into the Fourth Street, Third Avenue, and Broadway Street feasibility study. So, there's two documents that I had included in this. So, one is a quote summary, and what that is for geotechnical soil borings. So we did go out and get two quotes from both AET and Braun. Now, they're both based out of Rochester, and so what their proposals would do is essentially go punch some boreholes in the street, and so we would get, 2 to 3 in each block. And what that would do is tell us what is below the surface. So what we use that information for is designing our pipe bedding, that's designing your roadway section so that we don't end up with major unexpected issues as we go through that. And so if we know that, there's gonna be a piece of the street that's kind of muck down below and it's gonna be very poor soils, then we go through it, we can say, okay, hey, maybe we need to add some more rock, or maybe we need to do some different style of reinforcement to make that road sturdy. So those are those two quotes. So Braun Intertech was at $11,420, and then American Engineering Testing, AET, they were at $7,100. Now, AET was about a 4 to 5 week turnaround. Braun was closer to the 7 to 9 turnaround to get a rip tape. So
Why would it be so different?
it's just based on their availability and their schedule. So sometimes they can be busier, sometimes they can, have more availability or more time. But it kind of just depends on, we've seen it anywhere from, 6 weeks is normal, but we've even seen it up to 2, 3, 4 months when they're really, really busy. So,
The mayor did call me on this issue. He didn't, this again, cause I kinda remember this too. He didn't think on Third Avenue, since we're just gonna do basically a mill and overlay project on there, that we would, and I kinda, cause I think I was around too, that street really was rebuilt. But it's just the blacktop is bad on it now. He didn't think we needed to do the soil borings on Third Avenue. And he thought we needed to do more soil borings on Broadway, because that one never has been rebuilt. It was kind of a patch job in the first place. So that's what just his comments that he wanted me to relay to the council.
absolutely. And, really the way they do these is we get an allocation of 14 borings, and so they say these are all 10 feet deep. So we have 140 feet to play with. So if we
Okay.
want to move some to a different location, that's absolutely
That was just his
fine.
comments to me, so.
The one piece with Third Avenue is, I'm a little hesitant to only do a mill and overlay. Because what we're seeing out there is, you're seeing more of the base failure, and so you're seeing some of the alligator type cracking. So if you see, it looks like alligator skin on the pavement, that's an indication of base failure. So not just pavement failure. So if it was just the pavement and the surface, that's where we go through and we do a true mill and overlay, where they just take the top 2 inches of pavement off and then repave. I'm thinking the best route of action for Third would be to do similar to what the county did when we did on Second, and do more of a reclaim. So what that'll do is that would, it basically takes your bituminous section, your pavement section, and then you take a piece of the aggregate base that's below the current roadway, and they take a machine, they come through, they grind it all up, and it's all part of the machine, and it essentially, they can set it so that it turns into what we call a class 5 gradation, so which is more of your standard roadway base material, and then they recompact it, and so that really kind of reestablishes your base of your roadway, and then depending on your constraints, they'll either take probably the top, I guess it kind of depends on your pavement thickness, but you gotta remember they've got all that material still there. So if they're doing 9 inches of a reclaim, call it, that would be 9 inches of material that's still there. So what they would have to do if we have a new 4-inch pavement, they would have to haul off 4 inches of that. Now, the thought is, well, if we have some of that material, why don't we use it on 4th Street or Broadway, where we can reuse some of that material that's already on site. It should save a lot on trucking. That pavement is still in good enough shape to reuse, so it's more of the oil content of the pavement. So that was why we had a couple of those in there. And then, so as we look at the report, overarching kind of what the anticipated improvements were, and it's very similar to what we kind of talked about, this was even a couple of years ago when we started looking at 4th Street. So 4th Street is one of the last few streets in town. I believe it's 4th and 6th that really haven't had a full utility reconstruct in the relative recent past. So that would involve a full utility and street reconstruct. So we'd be replacing sanitary sewer, water main, storm sewer. Now, there are sections that, don't have all of those because the way things are routed, but 3rd Avenue, that's where that would be more of a reclamation and repave. And then Broadway Street, the thought that we're showing right now is to show the road widened so that it doesn't narrow down at the end and it's more of a standard street width all the way through. So what that would include is basically reconstructing the street, and so we don't know really what's on the shoulder, more towards the north where the road does narrow up. So we probably have to do more of a reconstruct, and they would probably do some reclamation, some reconstruct, but we really just want to make sure that that's a cohesive street section all the way through here. So that's really the bulk of what the formal improvements are. Now, it kind of depends on, we broke out costs and we just did this straight by block. So I know we talked about, how the special assessment process works last year, but we broke all these costs out by block. So it's really, you can pick and choose if you want to move forward with anything tonight, you certainly can. We don't have to move it forward with anything tonight, but I would suggest if you do want to do anything this year, probably next council meeting would be the last, one of the last meetings I really want to get going on something. Because right now, if you're following the special assessment process, which is the Minnesota 429 statute, that puts us, with this, even if we approve something tonight, that would put us in, kind of a late April bidding timeframe. And so next council will be more in the mid-May bid timeframe. And typically what we like to do is you try to get it right on the front end of the year so that you can get better pricing. You typically see that from your contractors before they start, filling up with work as they go through. So, yes.
So our first thing we would need to approve is probably the bore sampling to get that going.
It depends. So that's one option. So we can go a couple different routes. So if you know what you want to build this year, we can go ahead and we can get things rolling right now. But what we could do is we could have a resolution that would receive the feasibility report. And if you did want to move forward, you could have, you basically have a public notice. So that would start a public hearing process, and that would be, I think it's 3 weeks that we would have to be out. So 3 weeks to a month, where we have an actual public improvement hearing. So included with that is essentially, if we were to say go tonight on one or all of this, we could say we have to send out some mailing notices to all of the affected homeowners along the whole corridor, that would be assessed. And then we have to also publish it in the paper. And so that has to follow that same statute and guidelines, so. If we wanna table it and say, hey, we wanna think about, what pieces of the project we wanna move forward with, that's absolutely fine, but like Wayne, you mentioned, getting the soil borings done and anything we can do kind of just to have that information readily available, so that when we do say go, we can, hit the ground running and actually start on design, because, if we were to do all of this, I'd say just straight design is probably at least 2 months of just, figuring out everything, and then even that's kind of pushing it up. We still have some survey to do out there, we've got a lot of just true design to figure out in that time frame, so.
So our borings, are they good for more than 1 year?
Yeah,
I
we
mean,
did
once they're
these-
done,
Yep,
they're good?
so even if you push it out for a year, 2, 3, 5 years, assuming that you didn't bury a whole bunch of garbage in the road there, then you're gonna be just fine. So I would be absolutely comfortable for using it.
That, what I saw, the total cost of all these projects are gonna be $1 million something. I don't know what the council's thoughts are on that, or Richard, what you're thinking, do we have that, Jill, we have that ability to maybe bond for that much, and?
So it would have to be, I looked at how much total assessment do you have on here?
About $300,000.
300,000, so, I would think we'd have to use, I don't think you want a bond for the whole thing. But I think maybe we could take some of our reserves and use it, and then come up with a reasonable bond amount that we can handle, but I guess I'm not prepared to just look at those numbers right now. I don't know if Jill is or not either, but I think it's that we can handle it. We just have to figure out, go through what we owe, what we're gonna owe, and what we're gonna pay off, and I think it's probably something that we can do, but I think we all need a little more. Now we know the number. Now we gotta figure out. It's kind of like when you're buying a car, you know how much it costs, how are you gonna pay for it? So that's what I would suggest. The soil borings, I guess they're gonna have to be done either way, probably.
Yeah.
And maybe as to know the public that we're moving ahead at least on that, maybe we should go ahead and get those in the works, and then figure out the next meeting or two, finance plan.
Is that something that we could call a special meeting if we?
Sure,
needed to
oh,
just
sure.
sit down
Oh, yeah,
and-
yeah.
I mean, to really,
To go through
to look at it and look at the streets and
look
and
at
then
where,
prioritize
yeah.
which ones we wanted.
Yep.
And we've talked about it somewhat, but I just need a little bit more clear in my head before I wanna commit to bonding that much.
So is it true that, no, I won't say it that way, but Broadway, has that been in the works for a while and just kind of got pushed back?
Well,
Or is,
I think we used to have, I don't know if we have it anymore, I don't know, we used to have kind of a 5-year, 10-year capital improvement plan where you say, okay, we're gonna do this street, that street, that street. The problem with that particular street, it's not a high volume street where it's just got people, nothing against you, Wayne, but.
No, right.
But there's not two-way traffic like going up to the school or something
Right.
like that.
Or heavy equipment.
But it's always been, that was kind of done in the early 90s, kind of on the cheap. What they did is they basically put in half a street, and we didn't do it, kind of the development corporation, they kind of did it. At the time, we were just so desperate to have any lots available for town, they kind of put in a half a street. They did not put any new utilities or anything, and just did it really, really, really economical. And that's why the people bought those lots there. I think when they bought those lots, they were, $8,000 or something like that. So I think it's going to be a big investment down there, but there's really I think it needs to be done not only for because of the road, but because the infrastructure down there just isn't too good. It just isn't.
Okay, yeah. So if we're gonna, a reclamation we probably wouldn't.
No.
If the infrastructure
Because
is
you
no
don't
good.
have a curb there, that's very good. The
Yeah.
curbs are all shot, I think, aren't they? There aren't even curbs there, kind of little,
Just on the east side.
Yeah,
yes,
On my side, we've got good curves, we got the other side,
Yeah.
nothing really, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then it was a half, in the other half of the street has been that way probably since they paved the streets in the 70s.
So what do we wanna go ahead with the boring, you think?
Well, it needs to be done eventually. Either way, it has to be done. So at least it'll be like, look, at least we'll be getting something going.
One
You know,
step.
absolutely. I mean, it's something.
Do we wanna make a motion to go ahead, well, I suppose either one, would you recommend either of the two companies to go with the less expensive probably, or?
I've worked with both are very reputable. I would, given cost and timeline, I would go with American.
When do they do the boring? After the frost is out of the ground, or?
Nope, they can do that, it
Anytime, huh?
would be 2 to 3 weeks once we authorize them. So
Okay.
they can drill through whatever.
Sure.
Until they hit that rock.
Great.
So then we would probably need a motion to go ahead with, what's the name of that company?
American Engineering Company.
American Engineering as a company to
I
do
move to
the,
go ahead with the borings from American Engineering,
okay,
and that was lower to 7,000, right?
Yes, 7,100.
we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor of approving American Engineering to do the boring project, everybody by saying aye? Aye. Opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. The rest of it, do we wanna table?
So Reese, when would be a reasonable amount of time that we'd have to give you? I mean, so we can talk about this, look at it, with the numbers over. Well, give us your best guess scenario.
As far as, coming up with a design for everything?
Yeah, well, which ones we're gonna go with,
Our decision.
our decision on which, if we're gonna do them all, if we're gonna do just some of them, when do we,
And so it kind of depends on how, much you end up doing, right?
Okay.
So obviously, the full street reconstructs, those are gonna take a lot more time and effort from our end,
Okay.
because we're designing utilities, things like that. But like the reclamation, or if it's just a repaving, that's not that much effort for us. That's pretty straightforward. So, I would say if you're gonna do everything, like I said, that's probably at least a couple months. Say if you were just gonna do third, for example, give me a few weeks, couple weeks, I can get that turned around.
So by the next meeting, you're saying you'd really like to hear what we're gonna do?
I just wanna make sure that we're not pushing the bid date out too far,
Right.
Yeah,
because you're following the process, and we just wanna make sure we get good numbers, cause it's very fluctuating right now, it's a interesting bidding.
do we, council feel ready to commit to the next meeting as far as deciding table this till our next meeting?
No, unless we can have a special meeting
You can have,
between.
yeah.
and talk about just the
Yeah,
streets?
we don't
This
get
is
a
a
chance to
big
talk
thing, we
about
don't
it,
get a chance enough time.
Well, I don't know if we can get to, but if we have it at our next council meeting, that'll be enough time, if we decide then what we're doing, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, I mean, it'll just push everything back,
And,
X amount of time, so.
and if we want to, we can have a special meeting, and call a special meeting, before that, I guess, if we're all available some.
Right.
It's always
If we
difficult.
agree, then we can just call it. Okay.
Do we want a motion to table this for a final decision at our next council meeting?
What if we just table it till the next meeting,
Yeah.
Yeah.
not put in a final decision?
Yeah, okay.
Do we
Just
need to
table it.
Table it,
We'll
that's
keep coming
fine,
up with
yeah.
this.
just, we don't have to have a motion?
No, you can just just say motion to table, and then,
Okay,
Motion to table.
we'll motion that.
What I'll do is I'll go ahead, and there's a schedule in here that kind of outlines the whole process, so I will go ahead and I'll update that. So, and just kind of lay it out to where if it was, the next meeting or the following meeting, what those timelines start.
I don't want to cut it short either as far as getting bids in and getting it done. 'cause
Reese,
I
can I
know
ask
that
one
happens.
more question? Okay, the numbers that you're going, the numbers that you're coming up with, is that a reconstruction and utilities on all these projects, then, right?
No, it's reconstruction and utilities on Fourth Street only. So there wouldn't be much for utilities, I mean, on Broadway, for example, we're adding in a little bit of storm sewer. just for a couple intervals because it was a little more in a couple spots, but, otherwise,
Okay.
Third is literally just street replacement. No utilities.
Third Avenue.
Correct.
Third Avenue is just street.
Yep,
Did I read somewhere on Broadway though, we need to change the sewer lines, right, or something?
we would add,
They're
there's
currently tile or
a
something.
storm, or, excuse me, sanitary structure, so basically, all they had was, they just put the casting and the lid on top of the cleanout.
Okay.
And so, I wanted to, make sure that's gonna last, and so put in the structure, keep the cap on, and
Okay.
then we'll be okay there.
Sounds like we're good, maybe? You sound good with Reese?
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, appreciate all your work.
Thank you.
A lot of work there, and I appreciate all you do, so. All right, next item, Alyssa Lexvold, request to put in a bench in memory of Josh Budensick.
Yes.
Do we usually what, comments?
Yeah, happy to be here. Elise both, actually. And, yeah, our friends and I were looking to get a bench along the walking trail. Either, we would like to be by the football field. We didn't know how that ran into school property versus, I don't know how it works between school property and the city. And it doesn't have to be, but if we could, we would like it close to the football field or at least along the walking trail.
It is school
That is there,
property.
that's
That's
school
school property there.
Yeah,
By
On
the
the
football
field,
field, yes.
yeah. Mhm.
the park, which is pretty close, right, would be available, I would think. And I forget, have we got, some kind of, policies as far as where these benches go? Do we have to approve it?
Well,
as far as
usually-
pick a spot?
Well, usually, I think that's what she's maybe coming here to do, is that, I think there's kind of a uniform benches they have up there, aren't they sort of uniform?
Yeah,
They appear to be, I mean,
Yeah.
I know I've got the contact information, I know Truman actually has given your name.
We put in a unique one for my dad's memorial.
Yeah.
It was unlike everything else.
that was in the park, Chris.
And with that one, I guess, just for process wise, what we did is, I came to a meeting, the council agreed that we could put in a bench, and said, I think it was Lori, said just let Lori know where it is, and she would, or no, it wasn't, it was Steve. They just said, work with Steve, and if Steve okays where I want it, go ahead and put it in.
Okay.
And that's what we did, we put in the foundation ourselves, we did the whole thing, the city didn't do nothing with it.
What I would suggest, if I can make a suggestion, I think that you approve the concept of it, and then you work with Public Works, whoever it is, for a location.
Probably not gonna put it in until spring anyway,
No, and that's
or
fine, I just
summer.
wanted to get to a meeting to know what, do we have
Sure.
approval, or do we need to wait and see if there's any more information we need to look into? Haven't done any research, we need to get approval or not, that's what
I think it's like Traven said, they did all the work and they put the base in it. And, if you have any questions about design or anything as you're going along, but.
Yeah.
We're just making sure with locates and working with the city on that,
Right.
so.
for sure, for Steve or whomever it would be.
I don't think we need a motion, just a general,
Consensus.
consensus here, right? For everybody that, that would work with us, let us know what you're doing and where, and, maybe talk to Steve as far as
I
a
will, yes.
location, and, and, be careful of that kind of thing.
Okay.
Super,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, name, and we do this every year, name all these official, representatives and that kind of thing. We wanna name First Farmers and Merchants as our official city bank. Make a motion,
Can we do them all at once?
I
Oh.
think, yep, let's do them all at once.
Yeah.
News Record as the official newspaper,
Let's go 10 through,
Okay.
I guess 10 through 15.
10 through 15, are we all good with those?
Maybe somebody wanted to change groups.
I've been on the ambulance board since I started here, I'm kind of
I mean,
familiar with it,
I
so
just brought it up as
Yeah,
as a question, only
Right.
because, so, I mean, I'm fine,
I'm fine, so.
okay, so.
So, we have a motion to approve, items 10 through 15.
I'll make a motion.
We have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve items 10 through 15 on the agenda. All those in favor? Aye, and those opposed? Nobody opposed, motion passed.
We do have a comment from,
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that you probably noticed, it's been a real struggle finding help, being across the board for me. Anyway, so I'm here tonight, I'll be here the last week of the month, and then I'm bringing, somebody out of health-related retirement to come back and cover 2 meetings a month. So, and I assume Dwayne Allen covered some of this before, but he was willing to come back and do it, and he thinks he can do it. His work burden was pretty heavy before. But anyway, if you welcome him, Dwayne, in February, I appreciate it.
Sure.
Yeah.
We're glad to have you covering, that's great, so, yeah. We had a motion, and did we vote?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Alright, it's me in my head. Name pool board members. We have Patrice and we have others. Do we need another pool board member?
Wayne was on it.
I don't think I ever made a meeting.
No, there was no meeting.
There was no
There
meeting,
was nothing. No, there was nothing.
unless
So-
somebody else wants to jump on. I'll do it. We need a motion for that. Pool board members, Patrice and Wayne, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
A second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have first and a second on number 16 there. All those in favor?
I-
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Employee matters. Me and Terry again. Have we have a motion?
Motion.
My second?
Second.
Motion and a second for employee matters committee, and all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Number 18. Do we have some discussion on any of this yet, or?
Oh,
Yeah.
I just read it in here.
Yeah.
One suggestion shared, do we have a suggestion for somebody there, is that it? or-
yes, I was, I just recently got an email, and I do believe I forwarded it out. Sydney Mcnamara, that she's resigning, she did send me, the name of the person that was her assistant last year. So I do have that contact, number. So,
Okay.
We could see if she's interested in filling out an application
Yeah.
for that position.
Okay.
And I guess, also what I would suggest that we would maybe need to possibly do is also, post this.
Yeah,
Oh,
Put
sure.
it in the paper.
do we need to look at our pay or any of that at all on that? Think Jill, or?
I think that once maybe you're going through the farmer's market thing with that pay, maybe we can add the pool pay, take a look at what we have on there.
And
We got a little bit of time for both, items, as far as setting their pay.
But for now, we can accept the resignation. Do we need to make a motion for that, or?
Yeah, I think you should.
Okay, let's have a motion for the resignation of the pool manager, Sydney McNamara, along with, what do I wanna say, suggestion that she did a great job while she was.
I'll make the motion to accept Sydney's resignation.
Second? Okay, we did get a second? Who made the first, Patrice and,
I did.
okay. Yeah, so all those in favor of accepting this resignation? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, we also have two other city employees that resigned today. First person is Steve Wolf. The second person is Lincoln Merkins. We'll talk about, I can't talk about the specifics, other than I'd like to, you have to make a motion to accept those resignations.
What happens in the meantime?
Well, we got, this, in the closed meeting, I need to discuss it, okay?
I'll make a motion to accept their resignations.
Second? I guess I can second. All those in favor, accepting those resignations?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
One other thing, I guess, Wayne, on that committee and into Patrice's question. After these took place today, the most important thing today is the operation of the sewer plant and the water. Kyle, and Kyle is here. He does it part-time. I talked to the manager of the gas commission, and Kyle has said he will take care of that at least short-term. So he's gonna keep us in compliance with whatever we gotta do, keep water in the water tank and keep the sewer system flowing until we get some people online. And Kyle, you think you can do that, correct?
Yep.
We also talked about, the second issue was, snow plowing, what we're gonna do about snow plowing. Our truck is currently in repaired. I did talk to, Putz Tuman, who's volunteered to go down and get the truck, and I think he can, at least for the day, so we're gonna have to take this one day at a time. But Kyle is, and the gas commission is okay with this. I talked to the manager of the gas commission, so, I guess Kyle, you wanted to just chat a little bit here too, correct?
It doesn't have to be tonight, or even like tomorrow, if I could meet with one or two of you just to discuss what's gonna be expected and how
Okay.
we're gonna, like, say if, cause Tom Haugen does it on the weekends too,
Okay.
and if we run into any issues, how we're gonna handle all of that.
Well, everybody realizes it's gonna be kinda tough,
Right.
but we're all gonna have to kinda pitch in and do the best we can, until we get back up full speed. So, why don't you, call us in the morning and we'll figure that out, okay? And maybe if there's a volunteer that would like to have time to meet tomorrow, that would be kinda nice. If you don't, you don't, but,
I'll be gone
I'm
also.
open tomorrow all day, so
Okay.
I'd be happy to come
I
down.
can in the afternoon.
okay. All right, maybe in the afternoon we can get something set up tomorrow then,
Yeah,
okay?
that'll work.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
When they put in a resignation, is it like a 2-week notice, and they have to work 2 weeks, or can they just be done?
They
today?
can, they resigned today and gave us the keys, okay? We'll talk about it in the closed meeting, okay? Okay?
I'm just thinking of the almost $40,000 that was spent on 2 pumps that have to be put in.
Yeah,
But now, were they gonna put those in, or I think
No,
they
I
had,
think
yeah.
somebody else was gonna put it
Right.
in,
Well,
my understanding.
we may have to have some engineering help to make sure that all gets, because I don't know anything about that. I do think Kyle and some other locals here, can get us by, but if those pumps, we'll just have to keep an eye on it. I guess that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
I'll talk about it a
We
little bit.
probably can always outsource,
Yeah, yeah.
outsource if we have to.
Short term,
Yeah. Yeah.
If you know who to outsource to.
yeah.
And one suggestion I might have is some of the surrounding communities do have operators that can operate this plant, so
Sure.
leaning on some of, Zendota or.
Well, I mean, the council needs to be aware that we've been relying on somebody anyway. Well, we do not have somebody, even right now, I don't know if you noticed in your bill, we pay somebody right now every month to operate, to legally operate that plant. So that legal that responsibility is not gonna change, correct? Because Steve did not have a wastewater, what did he have or didn't he have, if you know?
I don't know if he had the exact operator license, I think he was a class C.
Yeah, he didn't have it.
It was
Okay, all right. but the responsibility lies with the council, so we gotta just make sure this is all followed up on, and we're in compliance.
Yeah.
So maybe after I meet tomorrow with Kyle, if I can just, I might even touch base with you guys, if I have any questions.
Yeah.
What we can, okay.
Oh, are you gonna be at that meeting?
I don't think, well, if they need me, I'll be around, okay? I'll certainly
yeah.
come out.
Carrie.
Yeah, yeah.
Get ahold of you. Right, right.
I think you should both go.
I think we both can.
We both can, but I'm,
Okay, I thought you said you couldn't.
no, I said I'm available all day.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
See? Look at that.
I'm here at that. Yeah.
Jeez. That's backwards.
Should I move on to 19? New city printer request. Wanna speak to that, Jill?
I, know that both of our printers were here for longer than what Lori was here.
Okay.
They need some friendly taps. We certainly need an upgrade. The police department has recently gotten a printer, and I'm somewhat familiar with their printer and their, and the features that it has on there, and it would, ultimately make the printing of the invoices and, the scanning and stuff like that, much more, time, saving some time. And, so we have worked with, Redmond, computer, tech, in the process, and this is the quote that we have been working with, is the $640.
When you said printers, there's two printers in now, and this one printer would replace both of those, or?
Yeah,
Yes? Okay.
so the one is colored and the one is not colored.
Oh, okay.
And our colored one, it literally holds like 20 pieces of paper, so it's
Okay.
babysitting.
Yep.
And they were honestly here when I helped Lori out 13 years ago, so.
No, they've done their work, what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Do we even need a motion on 640? Go ahead.
I think I probably would, I think we need to maybe tighten up our finances controls a little bit around here, and I'm gonna talk about that later, so I think it's a good
Alright.
idea.
All right,
So will this one fax and
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
that wireless?
Mhm.
So I move we approve a new printer. That will do everything.
And then, I'll second it.
okay, we have a motion and a second, any discussion at all? I think we already have that, so. New city printer request number 19, all those, motion and a second, all those in favor? All right, opposed, motion passes. Fund transfers.
So at the end of every year, we do move some funds around if you, like with your levy, your budget and stuff like that, we do fund transfers. So we noted, Lori and I noted that the 2005 street fund project had $45,000, $45,632. And so we moved that, and we're gonna close out that fund. So in order to make a fund at a zero, we needed to notify the council that, where we moved those funds. So if you found the Schedule 1, with the finances, it would look like this. You would see the transfer in there, for the 2005, and then the transfer in and the transfer out.
What page is that on?
Doesn't necessarily have a page.
It's just in there somewhere.
Yeah,
It's after the bills,
Yeah, you haven't done it yet, or you did?
we did.
they talked to myself and, Carrie about this at the end of the year, and it needs to be done before the end of the year. That street project is already paid, so we had basically a surplus from assessments and all that kind of stuff in there. That's why it showed it, but it showed a positive balance for something that's already paid, so that'll be then wiped off the books and just transfer from one account to the other.
No motion.
No motion.
Okay. Are we ready to move next? Everybody, okay. Wednesday, February 16th, workplace civility and bystander training, time 10 a.m. to noon. I know I don't have Wednesdays off, but, I can maybe ask for it.
So along with that, in the past, last year, they, did it live for us, is that correct, Josh?
They did it live, they recorded it,
Yes,
and then we had the other employees review it and go over it.
so, that's correct. So we would have it taped for those that can't make that specific time. Yeah, I did choose the 10 till noon time, for that. And so we're using the same company as what we did last year, and that's, been recommended, through the League of Minnesota Cities as well. So they approved that same gentleman.
Is that 10 to noon, would that include the data practices in that time frame?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so it would be both of them, are they all, each about an hour?
I'm assuming, yes, that would be correct. And then, so that information has been sent to, Julie, Fleming-Wolf, that is in charge of our compliance with that. And she's approved that's, would be feasible and workable for us and meet our compliance that we needed to do.
That would be here at the,
Yes. Mhm.
Is there a cost on that?
It is $5,000, and that would be the same fee that it was last year. And it is a requirement. So I guess
2 hours?
I will continue to say then, that is for letter A, that is mandatory for us to be able to do. My next question and suggestion would actually be for letter B, is the data practice and data retention. So Isaac is the gentleman's first name. He also specializes in the data practices, data privacy and retention. So that would be something that we would all benefit for, as how long do we retain these, all of the paperwork, and then along with data privacy and data practices, how important it is to me, for my role, what is private information, what is public information, and other departments as well. So just do a review on that. So he's willing to add that in there at no extra cost.
Well, keep in mind, this is all required from our problem with the state, the Minnesota Department of Human Rights. We made certain agreements and promises that we have to keep. That's gonna come up later too, so, okay?
So do we have to make a motion to?
I don't think so. I think it's just that we have to do it.
We
so
have to do it,
gotta do
okay.
so, information.
So that's the set time, so we put it on our calendar, okay.
But you can make it up if you can't.
Yeah.
That's correct, it'll be recorded.
Okay. That's good.
So, good with that?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, we'll move on. Mayor concerns, and I don't have anything. Council concerns? Carrie got anything.
Oh, I was gonna ask, on the new pickup, there's no logo. So, I don't know who orders the placards on that, if Steve did, but we should get, it should be placards, shouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So wherever you go through, order that on that new pickup.
Anything else?
I have all kinds of them, but after today's agenda, but we're talking about this, no.
Next one, maybe?
Next city.
Wow.
Okay.
Patricia has something.
Was there some COVID money? That was like, okay, COVID 64, 312, is that still around?
Or page or you-
55, I'm on that, the
Budget, or on the.
page 1 of the schedule 1. The same one we were looking at.
I don't think much of that COVID money has been spent at all, Patrice.
Okay, it says ending balance, 55.
I don't know that
That's
we,
correct.
I don't know, if I could say, I don't think we spent hardly any of it.
So it looks like we have spent 9,000 of it.
That was the second batch that came in, correct?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So we were looking into what we could use it for. Wasn't the room, the expansion
Well,
of
the
the room
first,
part of
maybe
it?
I can remind, I think the first one we paid for part of the fire department's turnout gear and some things like that.
Mhm.
I think we made some to the ambulance association or something, I think we did something like
Right,
that.
that's right.
I think maybe we should research that and see when we have to use it by, and maybe figure that out.
Okay.
So we don't lose it, have to pay it back or something.
Right.
I think we had 2 years or 2 or 3 years to spend it, but we should
Yeah.
maybe just look into that.
I like that.
Please do.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, we don't want to lose that. Right. Good catch, Patrice.
Money,
Yeah.
we're gonna need some.
We're gonna need it, yeah.
With this man here, we gotta make money.
Poor Reese. Old man, beat up.
Right. We do have a comment that, been handed here from Traven, and it's about the Volksfest. So did you wanna stand up and kind of address the
Sure.
council? And you should be wearing a mask.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Well, that's council rig.
Yeah.
I was here, was it November? I can't remember exactly when. I mentioned at some point we're gonna have to, get someone from the city on the Volksfest committee. And now is the time. I kinda need somebody now. We start our Volksfest meetings next week. And we used to meet here. Lori would open up the building, we meet in this room, and I would like to keep that if we can. And I talked to Kerry about it a couple times, and he agreed that it is a city event, and a city council member should sit in on it. Well, I mean, not that they need to be the president and lead it or whatever like Lori did, but at least be on the Volksfest committee.
Be aware of it anyway, because I know that the city can't sponsor it, although it's,
Right.
yeah, citywide event.
So,
I'd like to do that.
all right.
Is there beer involved?
Beer.
Oh,
Nope, not these meetings.
not here.
That's great, Patrice.
Way to go,
Yeah.
Patrice.
Alrighty.
Thanks,
Okay.
Patrice, that's
So
fantastic.
I will get you added to the meeting invite and get that sent out then. That's
Thank
all I
you.
really have.
Okay.
Okay, keep that mask on.
Yeah, if I have to have one on you.
No other concerns? At this time?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we wanna make a motion to pay the bill? You know, I don't know if you did this, I didn't look at it, but Lori would always kinda add, kinda what our ending balance was. Available funds on the bills, did you do that, or can you do that, Bill?
So, yeah, if we can revert right back to the Schedule 1,
Okay.
that's where we ended at
Oh,
on
okay,
December 31st.
I guess I kinda see it, city checking account and total.
Yeah, so,
This
so-
one here,
Right
yeah.
here.
yeah, so that would
No,
be,
that
that
was
would be the
that.
current,
Okay,
And this here is, okay.
yeah.
okay,
So,
super.
I stand corrected. That is what's in the checkbook as of the date that it's printed on there. And then this would, this Schedule 1 that I was referring to is what's in each fund as of December 31st.
Okay.
So it's just
Excellent,
on the next page.
excellent,
Okay.
thank you.
Mhm.
Again, motion to pay the bills,
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And then we need a motion to adjourn to a closed meeting.
That's correct.
So move.
All right,
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second to adjourn to a closed meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed? Motion passes. I'm afraid we